Well, Job really set the tone for the day, didn't he? Misery, drudgery, I'll never know happiness again. And yet, to me, there's a connection between his intensity, it's a powerful story, and where these apostles found themselves with this strange interaction with Jesus. There's a lot that goes on there, right? First of all, they come over to the house. Hey, my mother-in-law is sick. Oh, hey, how are you? And he heals her, and what does she do? Start working. God love her. That's the instinct. Start waiting on them. And then, of course, the whole town shows up. And I find interesting that while all of the sick and possessed came to him, it says that he only healed many. I don't know why. It's just interesting. I guess it kind of goes to how we understand miraculous things. And then, of course, once word gets out, as often the case with him, then, really the whole town shows up. And he just disappears. I mentioned this idea last week or the week before, I don't remember, sorry, about the idea of prayer. And how often, where Jesus goes when things are intense or don't make sense or any of the stuff, he goes away. He doesn't look to the crowd for his direction or cue. He always looks to heaven and gets away to do that. I think that's important for us. And of course, they go find him. I don't know about you, but that phrase just, it's the whole gospel in its own little sentence. Everyone is looking for you. Oh, irony, huh? Oh, irony that they would say that. Yes, they are. Some don't know it. Some don't know it when it's right in their face. Oh, irony when Pilate says, what is truth? That truth in flesh was standing in front of him when he says that. What is truth? Jesus, I'm truth. I'm not speaking truth. I am truth. Everyone's looking for you. What connects Job's story to the apostles' conundrum here as they show up is they just want him to go back to town and fix more people. And Jesus is really clear, that's not why I came. And so while Job's screaming about his misery and drudgery, there's a misery and drudgery that the apostles are communicating. And maybe the better word is anxiety or anxiousness. And the Latin root of anxious is really to choke or to squeeze. Because that's what it does to us. It chokes off for us hope and confidence and all of those things. St. Francis de Sales used to say, except for sin, the greatest evil that can befall your soul is anxiety. It's the greatest evil. And his direction was, you've got to live in this present moment, right? You and I have to be present in this moment because that's what anxiety robs us of. It robs us of, first and foremost, our confidence in God, but as it relates to that, our peace of mind. It's impossible to hold those two things while worrying. It's like having a bunch of packages in your arms. You're full of anxiety. I want to make the distinction between what is general anxiousness and that which is something more clinically diagnosed. I'm just talking about our general worry here, anxiousness. And there's only one escape of that prison that we create, that kind of worry that has Job at the end saying, I will never know happiness again. Well, no, not when you are consumed with the worry, the anxiety. There's no way to even see it. But that was self-created by him, right? What the apostles are trying to drag Jesus back to is their own worry and anxiousness. Could take 1 billion forms. The people back home will be like, hey, I thought you knew that guy. Couldn't get him to come back and heal my mother-in-law? You selfish jerk. He healed yours. You got to go back. What will people say about me? Did you say, well, that's not why I came. And so we have to live in that present moment. We have to do it daily, hourly. Again, Francis once made the point, notice what God said to us in the prayer that we call the Our Father. It wasn't, give us this day our or give us this day our yearly bread, not our monthly bread. It's not done on the fiscal cycle. It's a daily request that we have to make. And that's its own insight about what we need to do, is to connect that way. And again, the only way out of that prison we've created is to move our focus away from the worry, away from the misery and drudgery, and insert the words that we want, to return a focus to the goodness of God. And again, I think powerfully, profoundly, Francis said, you got to do that gently. You can't do it violently. You can't do it angrily. Oh, I can't believe I'm letting myself worry again. No, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging it. The poison of anxiety doesn't come in its initial stage. It's in the choke. It's in the squeeze. It's that it becomes almost so comfortable to us that the opposite feels weird or wrong. That we'd say, no, I'm going to shift my focus from that gently to the goodness of God. And one of the ways I think that at least it works best for me is I connect that to sacrifice, doing something for someone else, right? And maybe it's connected to the worry. If I'm concerned about where we find ourselves in a global pandemic, then maybe there's some kind of sacrifice I can make for those who are suffering in a way I'm not. If I'm concerned about the issues of unrest in our own country, then there's maybe a sacrifice I can make. Rather than just worrying about whether or not we're all going to get along, what are the ways in which I move my focus from the worry to the goodness of God, to where we've seen unity come from, and make a sacrifice? Maybe it's a similar disunity in our church, in the infighting that goes on, that we say, okay, I'm going to move my focus away from the worry of what's going to happen to us. Some church people, what's going to happen to the church when this pandemic's over? Will people come back? I don't know. I don't know what worrying about that does. Nothing, quite frankly. What I want to do is say, well, what can I sacrifice? How can I return my focus to the goodness of God? Why do I go to church? Why did I give my life to religious life or to the church? Well, it wasn't because I was assured that the churches would be full of people. You all have to sit and listen to me. Deal with it. No. I know the goodness of God. People say, why'd you become an oblate? It was the most radical way to say thank you to God when I fully began to grasp how much he loved me in spite of my absolute unworthiness of it. That's all. And so if I'm worried about whether this church, which so profoundly could be full of life, will be full of life again, then move the focus from the worry to the goodness of God and make a sacrifice. Maybe that's calling people who aren't here and just checking in on them. I don't know. That's how it strikes me. I can't help but connect this. I've preached this with you before, but of course times have changed. I'm struck by the magic that is active noise canceling in headphones. My mom for Christmas got me the AirPods Pro, and I love it's magical to me. I'm reaching that age now where technology is magical. Right? If you don't understand how it works, you got this thing, whether it's a headphone or in this case, the pod that's in your ear, but you're still picking up that noise. And the technology is simply a microphone pointed out that's recording all of that external noise, and then using the frequency and amplitude modulation to create its reverse fingerprint of sound, and then put that in your ear so that it cancels that sound for you. And that's to me what moving our focus to the goodness of God will cancel the worry. It doesn't make it go away, right? We could still worry. We could take those AirPods out and go back to worrying full time. Worry all you want, brothers and sisters. There's just no support for that anywhere in Scripture. Certainly not in the person of Jesus Christ. And so active noise cancellation, maybe what we need is active worry cancellation. But no one's going to give us magical AirPods to do it. We just have to practice it. We just have to be able to gently catch those moments where worry is starting to squeeze us and choke us. And just gently let it go and say, Where is the goodness of God in this moment? Where is it? Let me find it. Ah, everyone's looking for you. We will not find him if what our eyes are focused on, what our hands are wrapped around, is the worry. Are we looking for him? We are. And so here we find ourselves. Let's just gently let that worry go. Focus on the goodness of God. Sacrifice in the ways in which we can, small or large. There's something to take to prayer. Lord, what are you asking of me? And as always, that brings us to the Eucharist. That's what Jesus did. There's the time he lamented over Jerusalem. His heart broke to look at all the pain and suffering. And his response was to refocus on the goodness of God and make a sacrifice. A sacrifice that became our salvation. A sacrifice that we will taste in this Eucharist. That'll strengthen us to be able to gently let go of worry and focus on the goodness of God. Well, there it is, huh? We don't need magical headphones or AirPods to have active worry cancellation. Let us just receive him in this Eucharist and let it work its magic. Let it work its goodness in our soul. It isn't something that happens magically or once and for all. It's our daily bread. Let us ask him for it all the time. And some days maybe it's more than once a day. Maybe it's every hour or every minute, depending on what's squeezing our heart or our soul. But it is an opportunity for us. Let it go. Focus on the goodness of God. And find the way in which you can sacrifice for the vision that is the kingdom of God. That's something that we can do. More than just get upset about what worries us. More than speak to, I will never know happiness again. That may be Job's story, but that is not most people's story. Most people return to the goodness of God. So there's our invitation. May we accept it today. May as we come forward for this Eucharist say, Lord, give me that opposite fingerprint of worry, which is hope and confidence. Because he's conquered sin and death. We have nothing to fear. May God be praised.